I'm getting pretty sick of lugging this thicknesser around my shop, so I thought it was finally time to build it its own little bench that I can wheel around and make things a bit more organized in here. So here we have 8 bits of 70 by 35 just framing pine I'm going to use for the legs. I have 1 bit of 42 by 19 mil pine, and I've got 1 2-meter piece of 190 by 19 pine plywood here for the top. All right, so what I'm going to do now is just take a little bit off the inside of both of these so that when they glue together, they'll just go together a lot nicer. All right, now that I've cleaned up that inside edge on both of them, it's now time to just apply some glue, glue them together, set them in these 3 clamps, and I'll do all 4 at once. When you're using clamps like this on soft timber like pine, make sure to use a few Kerry Packers on the back side there. This will just stop any crushing from the metal on the timber. All right, legs are done. I got these down to about 62 by 62, which is pretty good considering they were 70 by 70 to start with. So basically, if you think about it, I took 2 millimeters off each edge, which took 70 down to 62. So these are ready now to be cut to the exact length, and then I can start doweling in the rails to build this table. Well, I'm going to cut these legs to 800 millimeters long. Right, so I've just finished cutting these on the saw. Now I'm going to cut them to their exact size on my miter gauge. Just going to clean up one end first. Just take a little smidge off. Now that I've cleaned the end up, I can flip my stop down, hold it against my stop, and go through and make the cut. Up properly. So now that's basically how it's going to go. So these boards are going to go up the top between the 2 legs. And these smaller boards here are going to go between the 2 legs at the bottom, about 100 mil up, and that's going to take that bottom shelf. And these on the side are going to hide the drawer that you'll see, which will come later. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 dowels into the end of all these small ones here. I need to make sure that I'm referencing the outside edge where the X is, but also that top edge. The drill bit's set up and I've just attached this little stop here. As you can see, the actual dowel jig doesn't actually go right across the wider piece of timber. But what you can actually do is you can do 1 or 2 dowels, and then you can utilize this little peg and actually locate the second hole and then move that across. Again, I'm always referencing the top edge, and I'm also bringing my dowel jig in from the outside edge. And I'm going to put this little locator peg in this first hole and see when it drops in. And I'm going to drill this last hole over here. That is how, with wider boards, you can actually get 3 holes in your timber. And as you can see, they're pretty well spaced apart. As usual, we've come into our first mistake. Now I've wound these all the way back to where they can't go any further. This won't actually fit over the piece. The only thing I could think of doing is taking off these actual threaded inserts here and actually just putting it over my piece and then just clamping it with a clamp. That might also work. Clamp like this. All right, so I've run into another problem. Basically, this fits over now like this, but I need to clamp this onto the timber. Problem is, if I just put a clamp over here, I'm actually just clamping nothing. So I think I need to try and remove this back plate. So let's try that now. So if I put that over like this, line it up nice and flush. Okay, there we go. So I think I'm ready to roll now and I can start drilling these out to see if it works. So this little peg here to that end hole. 1, 2, 3, lower it in, and look at that. There you have it, with a 10 mil gap, flush on top, up from the bottom 100 millimeters. And I'm gonna use my brand new Enjoy Wood square to just square that across here, like so. Perfectly up to my line this is going to be a drawer that we're going to slide out and slide in like that. And I still want this drawer to finish 10 millimeters back from the front edge. Instead of having this set to 20, I'm going to set it to 40. I'm gonna just dry fit these rails in between the top and the bottom and get this all together without glue. I'm then gonna measure up and actually cut in the bottom shelf, fit it in while I'm actually gluing up the rest of it. I just feel like if I glue up the frame first and then try and sort of squeeze that shelf in later, it's gonna be harder. I might as well do it all at once. So I've cut the shelf to suit. Now what I've got to do is just measure all these little corner pieces here and then notch that out on each one of these corners, and hopefully it'll fit in and I can clamp it around it. That is insane. How often do things fit into place on the very first turn? Look how tight these gaps are. I'm pretty happy with that. And that's before it's even clamped up. I've run into a bit of an issue here. The screws, they're 51mm screws, and they just reach it to the other side of the plywood. But what's happening is they're not quite grabbing on. They're just spinning. So what I've done is I've grabbed a 10mm spade bit, and I'm just boring in about 5mm deep. Should give me enough meat. The way I'm going to do my drawers, the opening here is 435. Hopefully we can line that up with the side here that I know is a factory cut, and then rip this end to make it straight, or square, sorry. So I'm just going to put a solid base in the bottom and then shoot it through from the sides. Pretty good. Let's quickly check it for square, because if it's not square, it's not going to run very well in the cupboard. Let's see if it fits. Let's do it the proper way. Okay. In. On the sides. Beautiful. All right, so what I'm going to do now is actually fit this handle, or drill the holes anyway. And then when I actually go to fit this front plate, I can then screw through those holes into the drawer, and then I can actually fix the box to the drawer. That might have not made sense, but I'll explain that in a minute. I can now set up some clamps, and when I get it pretty level, the good thing is now is I can actually get my drill and just screw this into my box, into my drawer. I can then pull it out, good, now that that's fixed, and then I can fix it from behind. That's the reason I did this side rail in 190, front in 190, and this side in 190. All set 10mm back from the leg to give that nice rebate look. Let's get this thing a lid, put the handle on, call it a day. Now I've got these blue threaded screws here that go back through the back of the drawer, right through to the front, and you probably can't see this on camera, but they're about 1 millimeter shy of coming through, and they've actually got to go into this hole here. There's two options. You can go try and find a longer screw. I don't have a longer screw. The other option is you can get yourself like a spade bit, like this one here, and from the inside of the drawer, just drill that a bit deeper so that the screw can come through further and make it into your handles. If you like this video and you want to see more content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the video next time. Cheers.